Hello and welcome to Life, Love, and Leadership. I'm Tom Ray, and joining with me on the line is my good friend and co-host, Ken Shelton. Hi, Ken.
Well, hello, Tom. It's so good to be with you today. A beautiful day. It's some of the prettiest rain I've seen in a long time and some of the prettiest chilly weather. And I even saw some pretty snowflakes coming down. So it's good to be with you wherever you are and whatever's coming out of the heavens. I hope you enjoy it. We usually start, as Tom said, our program each time, our podcast, with an attitude of gratitude. Now, that's a phrase that you've probably heard a lot, and it may sound to you like, okay, attitude of gratitude. What do I have to make myself be happy about? Well, you're absolutely right, because sometimes we're just in the mullygrubs, and we don't want to be happy, and we don't like people to tell us to be happy. So I'm not going to tell you to be happy today. I'm going to give you my attitude of gratitude, my single word that helps me when I'm in the mullygrubs, and that is praise. To me, praise is such a wonderful thing because no matter what your situation is, you can start praising God. You can start praising the benefits of other people in your life. And you know what? In a matter of minutes, your mullygrubs hit the road. How about you, Tom?
Hey, thanks for sharing today. Mine is two words, and that is I'm grateful for R&R, rest and relaxation. My wife and I just got back from the sunny Florida. For the most part, it was sunny. Maybe we had to drive a couple hours here and there to the beach so that we could actually capture the sun because it turned out to be a rainy season there. But we still had a great time and had some rest and relaxation, the R&R. So
Nice.
we were grateful for that, and especially just to be able to spend time together and just to focus on one another. That was great. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
And I'm jealous, but hey, that's okay.
Awesome. And we certainly like to hear from you, our viewing and listening audience, if you have an attitude of gratitude. We'd like to celebrate with you on that and perhaps praise your attitude of gratitude.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what are we doing, Ken?
Well, we talk about a lot of different things on this podcast that lead us to the general concepts of leadership and love, and then the broad category of life. But today we're going to tighten the lens a little bit and focus on leadership and primarily church leadership. We want to talk about five specific leadership tips that we hope will help you who are involved in church work lead your churches. And if you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube and you happen to be in some other area of leadership, not in the church world, these tips will apply to you as well because they're general leadership tips. And to a certain extent, leadership is leadership. Tom, what's our first one? What do we want to focus on primarily?
Our first one, and this one kind of scares leaders because when we let me rephrase that. Typically, the word leadership means that I'm the one in charge, right? But today's number one thing is being a servant leader. Jesus was the perfect example of that when he actually sat around the table with the 12 disciples and he said, hey, which is better, the one who serves or the one who is served? Is it not the one who is served? And everyone would agree. And that's the typical aspect of leadership. But he said, I came to serve. And one of the elements of that was when he knelt down to wash one of his disciples' feet. And he's like, oh, no, you're the leader. You shouldn't be doing that. I should be doing that. And he goes, and Jesus said, if I can't wash your feet, then you can't have any part of me. And he's like, okay, Lord, the whole kit and caboodle, let's wash it all. And so Jesus was the ultimate example of servant leadership. And that is, I believe, the premier of leadership right there.
Yeah.
And so it goes on to say he came to serve and not to be served, according to the scripture in Matthew 20:28. And as a church leader, we should model this same type of servant leadership. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to walk with you, to show you what you need to do. It's not an I and you, it's a we, that we're together in this, and I'm going to lead by example. What do you have to say about that, Ken?
Well, the threat is gone when we understand that we're modeling servant leadership, because then the people that we're serving will want to do what we're doing, and that is serve. So there's two aspects to service as it is presented here. One is a Cinderella picture. Sometimes when we think of service, we think of Cinderella being forced to scrub the floors and do the laundry, and that's service. And yeah, sometimes we're in a position where those who are over us don't understand servant leadership, and they require things of us. And the Bible speaks to that and says to serve joyfully as unto the Lord, not seeking to get our reward from people, but our reward from the Lord. But in the church, the primary form of servant leadership is that it is built on the assumption that we have something to give. So by serving, we're not saying we're less than and we want, to come underneath you. That's not it at all. We have to get out of the worldly idea that there are greater people and lesser people. In the kingdom of God, we're all just brothers and sisters, and some of us have one gift and some of us have another gift. As a leader, you have the gift of servant leadership, and so you have something to give. The people who are following you, in a worldly sense, who would be under you, but in a spiritual sense, are people working together with you. They can't do their job if you don't serve them, if you don't give them what somebody gave to you. So servant leadership is not really threatening at all. It's only threatening to control freaks. So if you're a control freak, if you value being in control, if it's going to be a good job, then I have to do it. If you give it to other people, they're going to mess it up every time. Well, if that's you, go to church and get delivered, because there's no room for that in the kingdom of God.
Drop the mic. That's
well, it's true.
Yeah,
control freaks are just bound up in their spirit.
Absolutely. And if you want some definition to that, John Maxwell talks about the 5 levels of leadership. And the one is usually, the first level is the one that you just get promoted to that. You get this label that you are the leader. So now you think, okay, because I'm the leader, I'm the shift manager, I'm the associate pastor, whatever the case may be, that now I have all this authority that I can start telling people what to do. Mm-hmm. So I advise you to go and check out the 5 levels of leadership that John Maxwell talks about. But for the sake of time, let's dive into number 2. What's number 2, Ken?
Delegate authority. If we're going to be effective servant leaders, we have to put into practice the art of delegation. Now, we all know what delegation is. It's finding someone who can come alongside you and help you, and then you give them part of your load as a servant leader. But there are some tricks to it. As a servant leader, delegating authority is when we come to the place that we realize if excellence is our goal, we can't do it all by ourselves. In fact, in the Old Testament, when Moses was leading the hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Jewish people out of Egyptian bondage and into the wilderness, the leaders who helped him, that he was telling what to do, came to him and said, "Hey, Moses, you're taking too much on yourself. You're going to need to sit down and find capable people who are able to lead groups of 10, 25, 50, 100, and so forth, and then release them to do their work." And then you can take that burden off of your shoulders. After all, in the church, it's not your work anyway. It's the Lord's work. And so by sharing it, you're allowing other people to share in the reward, not just the work. You want people to know the joy of serving. And so by delegating authority, you're helping equip them so that they can not only make decisions about what needs to be done, but you're letting them put their leadership skills to practice, and you're helping them learn servant leadership and the joy that comes from that.
That's good. But Ken, let me play devil's advocate for a second. Ken, look, I'm a pastor and I'm afraid to give my leaders authority because
that leads to number three, doesn't it?
Yes.
That leads to number three. What's number three, Tom?
Provide clear direction.
So we don't just serve and we don't just share, but we specify what we want them to do. Mm-hmm. See what I did there? I gave you all S's so that you can remember that. Serve, share, and specify.
Serve, share, and specify. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah. So in specifying, here's what's cool about specifying. You work together with the person. So here's something that someone taught me that worked well for me, and I would encourage you in it. Can I share it just a moment, Tom?
Absolutely.
All right. So at a certain point in the church that I served as a pastor, I realized that I needed good servant leaders to work along with me. And I didn't need to let them go and run, free and do whatever they wanted to do. So I began to develop, at the direction of people who had helped me, ministry overviews. In the world, we call them job assignments. But in the ministry, I gave them a mystery overview because I didn't want them to think it was a job, and I didn't want them to think it was an assignment, because that sounds like go do your homework. And instead, I wanted these people to share with me in what their goals were. So I would call them in and I would say, hey, Tom, there's an area of ministry that I believe you're well suited for, but I want to make sure. So I want to give you this little spiritual gifts test and find out where your gifts are. And then if it's accurate and their gift is compatible with the area of service that I have in mind, I say, this fits beautifully with what we have here. I need you to help me oversee the Christian education aspect, the discipleship aspect of our ministry. And look at your test here. You scored very high in discipleship. So I want us to work together. Here's what we'll do. First of all, number 1 on your ministry overview is, what is the description, the overall description? Well, it's just simply to work together with other leaders in the body to make disciples. Okay, well, that's pretty simple. You want it to be sweet. You want it to be short. You want them to be able to repeat it if a gun was held to their head, right? And what's your job? Oh, I got to make disciples. There you go. That's good enough. All right. So that's it. What, Tom, do you think should be the qualifications for a people or a person that does this? And, they need to be born again. Oh, let's write that down. Qualification number 1, they need to be born again. What else? Well, they need to be growing in the Lord. Oh, so they need to be growing in Christ. What else? Well, they need to be showing that they bear fruit. Oh, they bear fruit. Okay. What else is a qualification? Well, they have to be able to get along with others. Works well with other people. You see, people will more readily do and meet certain qualifications if they were responsible for identifying them. And then it doesn't come across like you told them what to do. And so now you have the qualifications, and then you say, you know what, I believe you're qualified in all those areas. What do you think? And they'll look and they'll say, well, I think I really need help over here. See what you've done? You've helped them to understand that you're not perfect and they're not perfect, but together you're going to make this thing work out. And then after you get the qualification list, you say, well, let's just try to top line the 7 things that we want you to really focus on, or the 5 things, or the 3 things, or let's see how many things, and then write them down. Maybe it's we need to develop small groups. All right, just leave that alone right there. That's 1. Number 2, we need to train leaders in small groups. Oh, okay, great. Number 3, we need to provide a curriculum for small groups. Oh, okay. Number 4. So now you've listed what the general things are. By listing the general things, you've helped that leader see that they can't do all those things by themselves. And they're going to have to raise up leaders with underneath them. So you've set the stage for that. And by providing clear direction and giving them a timeline, and this is how we did it as it was presented to us. I had a monthly meeting and weekly phone calls, not accountability, but relationship. So, hey, Tom, how's it going, bud? Yep, you doing good? Any problems I can help you with? Because I'm here to serve you. See how that worked? So he says, well, no, I think I've got it all together. Well, you don't have to have it all together. Just tell me how it's going, And so you put them at ease. And so a weekly phone call, and then a monthly sit-down meeting. And, you ask some specific questions about, tell me who's involved. Tell me how you're coming on these goals and what's going on. And then you let them know from the start that you're only asking them to do this job for a year. Well, by asking them to do this job for a year, you are doing several things. Number 1, you're giving yourself a safety net. If they turn out to be a jerk, you don't have to fire them, because in a year, their job's going to be done. And then you can say, I don't think it's working out. Let's go on and do something else. You're also helping them to know that they haven't volunteered for the rest of their lives, which often happens in church. We need a Sunday school teacher. And then you know what? You've been teaching for 30 years and you ran out of things to say. So you're helping them understand that they can do this for a year. And then you're saying, you know what we're going to do in 9 months, we're going to sit down and talk about how it's been going, how you feel we need to change things up, how we need to modify, and whether or not you feel like you want to continue to do this. Is this working for you? Is this working for me? And then if it is, well, you can follow your year with another year. And if it's not, you can opt out. We'll find another place for you to serve. So it provides a safety net for everybody. And, that's how it came to me. I used that model, and it made all the difference in the world in my ministry. I mean, it turned on the lights. People wanted to work. They wanted to serve. They wanted to be, because their friends were in those monthly meetings. They wanted to be there too. They wanted to get their hands dirty. And so it was a real blessing, and I was grateful that someone had shared that with me and helped me understand that it didn't all fall on my shoulders. What's next?
That's good. And with that, there's 2 words. There's cooperation, and then there's collaboration.
Oh, yeah. Good. 2 good words.
Yeah. And cooperation just means, okay, I'm going to do it because I have to do it. And collaboration is we get to do this. We get to do this together. Right. And even though you may not be standing right by my side, actually, putting the rake to the leaves, you know that I know that you have my back, and that I'm fulfilling a part of the vision, a part of the purpose that we're here and the mission of what we're doing. And so that's good.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Cooperate is really 2 words, isn't it? It's got a prefix and then the main word, right? Yeah. So what does co mean? It means with.
Yeah.
Do it with somebody, right?
Right.
Just do it together. And to operate, well, we all know what that means, to cut something open and get your hands messy. So leaders who cooperate, they get inside of a job. They don't just want it to look good from the outside. They want it to be healthy. And then collaborate. Co means what?
Working together.
Working together. And what does laborate comes from labor. And the Bible says we're laborers together. One plants, one waters. God gives the increase.
That's good. That's good. And in doing so, this will help our team remain focused and motivated, right? Well, right. Let's number 3, right? Provide clear direction. Number 4 is to offer encouragement and support. It kind of springboards right off of number 3 there. Offer encouragement and support. It's I share this in my book, A Married Man's Handbook. When I said I do, I meant it. And there's a story between Bill and Jane, and Jane says, "Bill, how come you never tell me you love me?" And Bill says, "Well, I told you when we got married, right?" She said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, if anything changes, I'll let you know."
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So,
Oh, don't you know he's fun to come home to at the end of the day?
yeah. And so we know that that doesn't work in marriage, and it's certainly not going to work in the workplace as well. Well, I told them that they did a good job when I hired them or whatever, but it's that continual motivation. It's not like they need to be babied or pampered, but it's encouragement goes a long way. Because even as we're moving along, we want that metrics, that gauge that says, okay, I'm still being effective. What I'm doing is still making an impact. And it's good to hear, especially from our leaders, that we're succeeding at what we're doing.
The other day I saw a billboard, Tom, that said it was an axiom, motivational phrase that I remember from my childhood. They had these it was called divorce court back in the 60s. And it was sort of like Judge Judy, but it was all about divorce. And then at the very end, it flashed a banner across the screen that said, "The family that prays together stays together." And that became a motto that in America was a big deal. But I think in leadership, there's a spinoff of that. And that is the leaders that play together stay together. So when you offer encouragement, a lot of times you don't want to patronize people. And by patronize, I mean, you don't want to say some form of encouragement like you're their father and you're saying, "Keep your chin up, you're doing a good job." And then, that's no fun. What you want to do is you want to say, "Hey, Tom, what do you say? Let's go out and go fishing. Just to hang out. I got a boat and we're going to go over here to Lake Huron and we're just going to go out and catch some big ones." You won't believe that. You can't believe that because the day is like, man, you know what? I got a cooler full of pop and I've got a bunch of snacks and we're going to go out there and spend the whole day. And let's go. We're going to bring some friends, call a couple of friends. That is discipleship. And that is, you have to keep discipling your leaders for them to disciple their leaders. And so you do that by building relationship. Without relationship, you're not going to disciple anybody. You're just going to give them information and goals they can't achieve. So if you can't achieve, okay, so if you so let's go fishing, but it means you also have to know your people, because you might find out that Tom hates to fish. So you don't say, "Hey, Tom, a bunch of us are going fishing." Well, that means Tom's going to come along and be absolutely bored and feel like he's missing out on 6 things he's got to do at home. So you know your people. And I'll tell you, the worst one is golf, because some people love to golf, but they're really no good at it. And when you get them together with people that are really, really good golfers, "Hey, we're going to go golf. We're going to play 18 over here. We're going to hit the links, and hey, I got to go because all the guys are going and I spend my whole time in the weeds." Ask me how I know that, because I'm that guy, okay? If I golf 4 days a week, I'm an okay golfer. I won't lose too many balls. But now, if I don't golf like 4 days a week, nobody wants to golf with me because they can't ever talk to me because I'm in the woods. They have to, I use all my golf balls and then I got to borrow theirs and I got to pay them back. It's really a bum deal. So know your people. That's what I'm saying. Know them, know what they're good at, know what they like, and then say, "Man, listen, I'm no good at golf, but you're a good golfer. Would you do me a favor and show me how you are such a good golfer? I'm going to go golfing here. You'll have to be patient with me now." See, you've turned the tables. You're the leader who sucks at golf. And now you're saying to them, "Show me, show me." And now they're saying, "Wow, he's a great leader. He just is willing to put me in the driver's seat." Let him go. Let him tell you. And the worst thing in the world is when you're no good at golf. Well, I already said one thing was the worst in the world. I guess this is the second worst thing in the world. is when you're no good at golf and you're standing up there and you've already whiffed like 4 tries at the tee box of mulligan comes two, you're just no good. And then you got 6 guys standing around going, if you just stand with your feet a little further apart, I know you'll hit wait a minute, straighten your shoulders up, okay? Keep a great line of sight there. And what you want to do at that point is fake a headache and leave, because you got all these people telling you what to do. So just don't do that. If they screw up, just laugh and say, oh my gosh, you screwed up so bad right there. I did that. Just watch this. And then you hit one in the woods too. So, you do things they like to do. You get them together. You encourage them by letting them do something with you that they're better at than you.
That's good. So there's more than one way to encourage, right? And so we can actually be specific about something, a project that they're working on, but we can also encourage them by doing things relationally. Because too often we as leaders, we just bark orders and expect results. And we don't only want that to be a part of the relationship.
Oh, so true.
Because here's the thing, and I think you can attest to this, that the folks that we work with, we probably see more and engage more than we do our own family, because we see them every day in the workplace, and so we have an opportunity to build relationship with them, to find out what makes them tick, what's a blessing to them, and how we can even be a blessing to them. And there's something on that note, when you talked about, someone not liking golf or fishing or whatever the case may be. There's this one leader who in the secular market, who got a wine or some kind of alcoholic beverage or something for all of their employees. Well, there are some folks that don't drink. So, what benefit did they get out of that alcoholic beverage? None. And it didn't speak anything to them. They didn't feel appreciated or valued by that. And so I think it's, as you said a moment ago, Ken, is that we need to know those that we lead.
The drinking thing is really interesting, because that's the only food or drink item that if somebody doesn't participate and you're all around the table, that's the only thing that we say, you're not drinking? You don't drink anymore? We never say that about potatoes. You don't eat mashed potatoes anymore? What's wrong with you? Who doesn't eat mashed potatoes around the table? I don't want to offend you. Okay, great. We never say that about peas. We never say that about dessert. Nobody eats dessert, really. I'm going to pass on the French fries. What? You don't eat French fries? And so in our culture, you're made to feel like a duck with 4 wings if what I'm saying, you don't drink. What's wrong with you? Actually, what's right with you? Because, by the way, a little plug here, the American Medical Association 5 years ago came out after a long study and said there is no amount of alcohol that is beneficial for you. None, 0, zip. You don't believe me? Look it up. Don't take my 2 beers. I got to have my 2 beers. Well, if you want to kill yourself, do it slowly with 2 beers and a glass of wine. But if, you want to keep going and you want all your brain cells to work, skip the booze. Okay, that's just my plug. It's not a spiritual thing. It's just a medical thing. Okay, don't spiritualize it. All right, sorry. As you could tell, I've had a lot of caffeine this morning, so I apologize if I'm rambling.
Skip the booze. All right. So number 5, and this one kind of jumps on that springboard of booze for some people. But number 5 is celebrate successes, right? Celebrate the wins. Too often we've just got our head down and we're just plugging away, and we don't take time to pull over on the side of the road and say, look, we achieved this. We made this goal. We have a win underneath our belt now. Now, John Maxwell talks a lot about celebrating the wins, but don't stay parked on the side of the road reminiscing that win. because we
Mm.
really need to be off to the next thing to win. But we need to stop and take a moment to celebrate the wins. When the leaders feel that they've succeeded at something, that will in turn give them motivation and encouragement to continue doing a great job. Any tips on celebrating successes?
Oh yeah, yeah. Make it fun. Make make them feel so special, but don't give them a plaque. Okay, just the plaque. The whole idea of a plaque is like, I really appreciate you, but I'm too busy to spend time with you. So take this piece of wood with a fake piece of brass on it that says you did a good job. Now, if you're going to give them a plaque, if your church has the habit of giving plaques, all right, and you got to do that, don't put numbers on it. In other words, don't put, this is a special award for Tom because in his small groups, he developed 7 new small groups and he has 300 people. Next year, we want to see that doubled. You see what just failed? You just made that guy feel like he has got to do better numerically. And there may be conditions that would prohibit him from doing that, like, say, a pandemic, or or just a lot of things, So skip the numerical thing, because goals are more than numbers. We live in Western culture, we rate everything by size, numbers, that's a big deal. Not so good, really. Jesus didn't. He got 12 guys, and sometimes he got tired of a bunch of people and went off by himself. So I think, yeah, you want to celebrate their successes by celebrating them.
That's good.
You are a success, not what you did was successful. There's a big difference there. When the people that you've brought alongside you that you're serving know you believe in them and you believe they're a success, you have a golden retriever that will never leave your side. I'm not saying they're a dog. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that quality of faithfulness and loyalty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That definitely makes a lot of sense. We have a biblical principle today for all that we've been talking about, the 5 things. Can anybody remember what they are? The 5 things are: be a servant leader, delegate authority, provide clear direction, offer encouragement and support, and lastly, celebrate successes. And
let's give them S's real quick. You want to?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
All right, ready? Let's do this. All right, write this down. Remember, you can remember 7 things in your short-term memory. So we're going to give you 5, right? Serve, right? That's what you said. Number 1 was serve. Number 2, share. Delegate authority. Serve, share. Number 3, specify. Give them specific direction. Number 4, support. And number 5, it's not an S, but it sounds like one, celebrate. So if that helps you a little, that has accomplished a lot, if it helps you a little. So it's a way to remember. So
yeah, it's like reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah, right. You just want to get it in your brain. If you get it in your brain, it'll get in your heart. If it gets in your heart, it'll be contagious.
Yeah, and it needs to become second nature. And
yes,
it's going to become second nature is if you continue to do it. But that biblical principle, that scripture, it says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Again, that is the pinnacle of leadership. That is servant leadership. And Jesus, again, was the perfect example of that. So if you are a church leader and you commit to these following tips, you will be setting up your team for success. And remember this, when your leaders shine, you shine. It's just going to happen because you are the leader for your organization. And so when anybody shines in that organization, that means you shine. And so never forget that. And then as we move along, we get to share in the reward, as Ken said earlier, we get to share in that reward together.
That's beautiful. Well, this is Tom's podcast, and I horned in back several months ago. He wanted to interview me, and Tom and I have worked together in the past, and it's been successful because we love each other and we care about the work that we do together, and we love the Lord. And so we've known each other for a very long time. So I called Tom and I said, "Hey, Tom, I don't want to presume here, but how about if I just joined you on your podcast from time to time? Because I thought the whole thing worked well. You're the host, I'll be the co-host." And he said, "Okay, let's do it." And I pardon me, I'll tell you why I did that. Pardon me. I'm okay now. I was eating a muffin and it shows. The reason I did that is Tom's a good leader. And if you need to understand certain aspects of leadership, you should call Tom. Tom is a good leader. He has great insight, and he is able to give you very practical insight and ways to make that insight work. And his track record proves it. People want to be around Tom because he makes them feel like they can accomplish the goal. He's a great leader. And so call Tom. Visit Tom online, send him an email. What's your email, Tom?
Tom@realleadershipcompany.com.
Real Leadership. Is that one L, REALEAD, or is it two L's?
Two L's, real, and then leadership.
All right. Some people try to get fancy and mess it up. So yes. Great.
Yeah, certainly. It is that. And thank you so much for those kind words.
Certainly.
I
mean them.
Yeah, I know you do, and I didn't even expect you to say that today, just for to let everybody listening know. And I
me later. That.
What's that?
You can pay me later.
Yeah, I can pay you later. But since we're pinning verbal roses today, Ken, it's been a pleasure working with you for all these several years. We've done a lot of projects together, from worship projects to actually leading a school for several years together, in teaching and training and equipping other people. So and you have been steady throughout the whole thing, and you are just a very creative person, and have a creative mind, and love to equip people with these visions and things, and create opportunities for people to have something to work toward and go after. And so I really appreciate that about you, and all the songs you've written, as well as the stories and things of that nature. And with that being said, let's tell everybody about what you're doing as of late with articles.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tom. That's very kind, and all glory and praise to God. I appreciate you saying that. So I've announced before that I finished an album, 13 songs that I wrote for my family, and you can find that on my website at KenSheltonMusic.com. Pretty easy to remember. Or you can type in on your favorite streaming service, Ken Shelton Legacy, and you'll find it on Spotify and iTunes and Pandora and all those places. And on my website, you can play them for free, and you can find the stories behind the songs, because they're about my 10 grandchildren and my daughters and my beautiful wife of 49 years as of May the 4th. But also, I love to write in general, and I was given a contract recently to write for Patheos. Patheos.com is a religion online magazine, really. It's a news site. It's consistently ranks in the top 10, and several times it was the number one. They have 417 million readers, and it is a big, big place. And you can find articles on Christianity, but you can also find articles on Hinduism, Buddhism, other isms, and Christianity. And I write under the category of general Christianity. And what I've been writing about is trauma. Specifically, my column is titled The Gathering Place. And if you want to find that, you can email me at @gmail.com, and I will give you a link. Or if you want the big link, it's Patheos, Patheos. Patheos is 2 words, way to God. Patheos.com/blogs/The Gathering Place. That's me. And you can also just type in your Google search, The Gathering Place, Ken Shelton, it'll pop up. I'm writing on trauma. And because everybody's been traumatized, the Lord's really helped me of late to see the Bible differently. And I know we're pressed for time, but let me say this. The Bible, in writing these articles, the Bible now, it's evident to me, is yes, a book about God, yes, a book about disciples in the church, but more than that, it's a book about traumatized people. Because if you look from Genesis to Revelation, everybody's traumatized. Nobody's having fun. And I mean, really, stop to think about it. The only time people have fun is when they're worshiping an idol, and then fire comes down from heaven, or the earth opens up. Trauma. Or when they're celebrating with Jesus, or celebrating a feast day. But people generally are traumatized. If you see the Bible through the eyes of trauma, then it will make sense why Jesus said in Luke 4:18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he's anointed me to preach good news to traumatized people. The poor, the blind, the bound, he just wants to do that. So anyway, that's what I write about. And, it's such a common subject because nearly everybody's traumatized. Some people have PTSD, and there are all kinds of trauma. And I just want to encourage you. So that's my thing. I encourage people. I try anyway. And I've been traumatized. You've been traumatized. But here's the thing. God is good to us. And in our trauma, he lifts up our head. He is the lifter of our head. And so thank you, Tom, for those moments to speak about The Gathering Place. And you can find me on Facebook if you're a Facebook guy. Okay, so just go to Facebook and type in Ken Shelton or Ken Shelton Ministries. I have 2 Facebook pages, and either one. So just jump on board and you'll find out what I'm doing. I'm going to begin going live here in a few days on my Ken Shelton Ministry thing. So, hey, God bless. I talk a lot. It's your turn, Tom. Go.
Thanks for sharing that. And by the way, his articles are fantastic. You need to check them out. Very thought out. And they come from a place of trauma. So he's not speaking about something that he's not been affected by. So he's sharing from the personal experiences, and I'm sure that they will apply to many of us in some fashion or form. So check those out. I'm sure that they will also help you or be a great resource for you to draw from when you're ministering or speaking to other people dealing with trauma.
Maybe in the future, somewhere down the line, if you feel it's appropriate, we could do a podcast on trauma.
That would be fantastic.
Trauma and leadership, trauma in the church. 1 out of every 3 girls and 1 out of every 10 boys will have been sexually abused by the time they're 18 years old. Hmm. And those are just the ones that report it.
Wow.
Those aren't my numbers. That's from the National Institute of Health.
Well, that'll be a good topic on one of these podcasts for sure. Because I mean, with statistics like that, I know there's a lot of people in our listening audience that have been obviously affected by that. And so that's good, whether you are the abused or the abuser. So, yeah, that's good. Well, anything else, Ken, before we wrap up today?
Yeah, Tom, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing on Sundays? I'm not sure everybody's fully aware of that.
Don, I'm an associate pastor. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. Go for it.
Sure. I'm an associate pastor at the Power and Praise Worship Center in Hazel Park, under the leadership of Pastor Chris Blankenship, and we're just plugging away there just to see God continue to move and grow. The church is in a growth spurt, and we're really seeing just a freshness and a fire burning there. And I feel my role there is in leadership and worship development, to prepare the church for the growth that we're seeing and that is about to come. And so that's what we're doing there, and excited to collaborate with Pastor Chris and his wonderful wife and just the church, just a wonderful group of people that are just hungry to see a move of God happen in their lives. And I'm glad I get to be a part of it. So that's what I'm doing outside of the Real Leadership Company, which, by the way, we offer leadership development and coaching, and things like that. And speaking of church growth, I've written a couple of articles that can help you in regards to church growth: 3 steps to grow your church, the 3 P's to ministry success. Just contact me at tom@realleadershipcompany.com, and I'd be glad to forward those over to you so you can check them out. And then we can come in and actually do a discussion together, and discuss a plan of action about how to get things set in the right order to help your church be in position to growth. Listen, at the end of the day, it's the Lord that builds the house, but it's going to require that we get some things in place. And we've talked about a lot of those things today, and the 5 leadership tips that we've given you, getting those things in order, so that you can have a healthy leadership team to provide a healthy church. So that's some things there for you to check out. And then lastly, I'm also a realtor. If you're looking to buy or sell a house, I've got into this industry so that I can help people. And I know there's a lot of people who are always looking to move or to sell or buy a house. So if you need any information on that, you can reach me at 586-275-7732, or you can email me at tomrearealtor@gmail.com.
I think what Tom's saying is that God builds the house, Tom will help you buy it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We're glad that you are journeying with us, and we invite you to subscribe to this podcast either on your favorite podcast source, or even on YouTube, where you've been able to watch this. And check us out there on our Facebook page, everything Real Leadership Company. Look for my face or the logo you see behind me. And we're here to help you grow and develop to the next level. Our tagline is training and equipping your climb. And so that's what we're here for. If we can be a help to you, if Ken can be a help to you, he's available to come in and speak and to sing, and as am I. So give us a call if we can be of any help to you. And again, thank you for tuning in today to this edition of Life, Love, and Leadership.
Serve the Lord with gladness, because the joy of the Lord is our strength. Nobody wants to follow an unhappy leader.